Can everybody hear me in the back? At this time, I'd like to remind everybody to silence your cell phones. I know we'd love to hear from our auto warranty, but put that on hold for tonight. And if everybody could please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Face the flag. Ready to begin?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. So how this is going to work for the first hour, we're going to be asking the candidates specific questions. The next hour after that will be questions that can be turned in the box provided. Very back, pencils. We'll be answering those as time lets us in the next hour. The men's restroom is through this hallway, first door to the left. The ladies' room is through this hallway in the back. And there's also through that main door and into the bar is the men and women's restroom also. So. All right. At this time, we'll be doing opening statements from the candidates. They were randomly drawn. First candidate up, Kelvin Johnson.
Do you want standing or does it matter?
At your will, sir.
Okay.
You have the mic next to you, Kelly.
Can you guys hear me in the back?
Got a thumbs up, so you're good.
You also have a microphone.
Can you hear me in the back?
The mic will help.
How's that? All right. Well, good evening and welcome. First of all, thank you, Commander John Underhill and the VFW Post 8988 for this opportunity to be a part of this town hall meeting. My name is Kelvin Johnston. I am happily married and have 4 wonderful children and 3 amazing grandchildren. I enjoy hunting, fishing, camping, horseback riding, and anything to do with the outdoors. I also love spending quality time with my family and friends. I served 10 years in the United States Marine Corps. I was stationed overseas in South Korea and Okinawa, Japan. I served with the 1st Marine Division, 1st Battalion, 11th Marines, Alpha Battery, and with 7th Marines Regiment as the regimental ammunition technician. I managed an estimated $2 million ammunition account for the entire 7th Marines. I was stationed at Marine Corps Security Force Company at Naval Submarine Base Bangor in Washington State. I was stationed while stationed at the Naval Submarine Base Bangor. I received a Navy Achievement Medal, National Defense Medal, and a Good Conduct Medal with 3 stars. After being honorably discharged in 1992, I began my law enforcement career as a police officer in Lewistown, Montana. I returned to California in 1996 to be closer to family and to attend the Riverside County Sheriff's Department's Law Enforcement Academy. I have been serving the people and visitors of Inyo County since March of 1999 when I was hired as a deputy sheriff. I hold a California Peace Officer Standards and Training Post Basic Certificate, Intermediate Certificate, and an Advanced Certificate. During my 23 years with the Inyo County Sheriff's Department, I've worked patrol as a residential deputy, a narcotics officer with the Inyo Narcotics Enforcement Team. I was assigned acting sergeant to the Inyo Narcotics Enforcement Team, where I supervised all operations. I am currently an investigator with the Major Investigations and Narcotics Team, conducting investigations into crimes against people, sexual assault, property crimes, and all felonies. I am running for sheriff because there is in the way we currently serve residents of Inyo County. We need a more community-oriented approach in order to gain back the trust from the citizens of Inyo County. We've gotten away from the fundamentals that built the Sheriff's Department, which are to provide service and protect the citizens of Inyo County. I feel that we need to rebuild that trust with the community through transparency and partnership, establishing guidelines that ensure the community is of the utmost importance. Again, thank you, Commander Underhill and the VFW Post 8988 for sponsoring this town hall meeting. Thank you.
Sheriff Richards, the floor is yours.
I sweated a little bit.
You spit in it?
No, just sweated. It's hot in here.
Can you hear me okay? Good evening. First off, I'd like to thank the VFW for hosting this event, and I would like to thank every veteran for their service to this country. This is big enough, I don't need my glasses. My name is Eric Pritchard, and I'm the current sheriff of Inyo County. I started my career nearly 23 years ago as a correctional officer and a reserve deputy. I quickly promoted under Sheriff Dan Lucas to deputy sheriff, where I attended the Riverside County Peace Officers Academy and finished #1 academically. As a deputy sheriff, I was assigned to both the South and North End patrols and took numerous duties as an agency instructor in less lethal munitions, distraction devices, tear gas weapons, and pepper ball launcher. I also spent approximately 10 years SWAT team, serving high-risk search warrants, responding to critical incidents, and apprehending fugitives. During those years, I continued to promote under Sheriff Phil Lutz and achieved the ranks of corporal, sergeant, and lieutenant. Upon the retirement of Sheriff Lutz, I was appointed to undersheriff. My 14 years as a supervisor and administrator have positioned me to have a broad and extensive understanding of the inner workings of our department. As a lieutenant, I oversaw the hiring of personnel, jail operations, court operations, and was in charge of the agency's policy manuals. As undersheriff, I was responsible for all administrative discipline and related matters for the entire department. I have gained significant managerial experience throughout my entire career with the Inyo County Sheriff's Office, and this has prepared me to lead the department moving forward. I'm here tonight because I have a vested interest in the success of this department and its members. We have all gone on this journey together, and they are like family. I want to build a better future for them and our community, and I am looking forward to continuing to serve as your sheriff. Thank you. I have to share with this, right?
Can you guys hear me? I'm having technical.
That's good.
Is it on? Okay. Hi, my name is Stephanie Rennie, and I'm currently the Chief Investigator for the Inyo County District Attorney's Office. I began my career in law enforcement in 2003 as a correctional officer for the Inyo County Sheriff's Department. I also worked for Kern County Sheriff's Department as a correctional officer. I returned back to the county because I was raised here, graduated Valentine High School in 1988, and I always just had a love for this community. So I came back to Inyo County and promoted to deputy sheriff. So in 2007, I began my career on patrol and immediately got forced into the sexual assault realm because I was a female. So I took great pride in that and in 2010, I transferred to the Inyo County District Attorney's Office because I wanted to better know the justice system ins and out. That had given me a great knowledge of what it takes to successfully prosecute a case and hold accountable criminal offenders. In 2016, I promoted to chief investigator, where I kind of found my niche. I supervise a unit, I manage our budget, and I work collaboratively with allied agencies and multidisciplinary units. And to achieve a greater success for our victims, for our community, and for everybody involved. I have a great love for my community. That's why I'm running for sheriff. And I have a great love for law enforcement. I want us all to succeed, excuse me. And I want us to all work in a collaborative unit. I want to bring the county together, law enforcement together, and hope that we can have a better relationship in general. I think that we've lost that over the last few years, generally and globally. A lot of people have a distrust for law enforcement. And I think it's time that we earn that trust back. And that's my main goal, and that's why I'm running for Inyo County Sheriff.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Joe Vetter, candidate for Inyo County Sheriff. I'd like to thank VFW Post 8988 for having us here tonight, and my hat's off to all the veterans in the room. My father was a Korean War veteran, and he passed away last year. I've been on the job for 23 years now. I'm currently second in command at Mammoth Lakes Police Department as Senior Sergeant. I started my career with the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department in 1999 after graduating from Sonoma State University with a bachelor's in environmental studies. While at Sonoma County Sheriff, I was assigned to patrol, court security, CSI detective, transportation, hazmat team, environmental crimes, and then I transferred down to San Luis Obispo County Sheriff, made my way to Mono County Sheriff. I worked for Inyo County Sheriff from 2012 to 2016, prior to accepting the position as sergeant up in Mammoth Lakes in June of 2016, where I currently work. My generation of police officer in 1998, 1999, when I was in the police academy, was centered around community-oriented policing. That is, to this day, almost 24 years later, that is still firm in my mind and heart, and that's how I do my policing, and that's what I've passed on to every officer or deputy that I've trained, and continue to do that to the day I'm retired and even beyond. I feel that this community, law enforcement in general, has taken a really big hit over the last roughly 5, 6, 7 years, and the trust with the community has just waned significantly. Community-oriented policing is what we need to bring back to our Sheriff's Department here in Inyo County. That's, anywhere from reaching out to the schools, getting school resource officers, explore programs to reach out to our youth, where we tackle that early and get a good relationship going with law enforcement. Our tribes throughout the valley, it's important. We need liaisons, and we need to meet with them. We need to reestablish that trust. But I believe in that firm, fair, and compassionate law enforcement. That's what I was taught the day I was sworn in at Sonoma County Sheriff by Jim Piccinini, the sheriff at the time. I've carried that all the way through to this day. Firm, fair, compassionate law enforcement. Now we're starting to look at different things like, we used to, when we came out of the academy, it was, hook and book, slap handcuffs on people and let's take them to jail. That's completely changed. Now we're looking at more trauma-induced care. So instead of, hey, you're the bad guy and you need to go to jail, now we're looking at, you're the bad guy, you might go to jail, but what caused you to go to jail? What can we do to make sure you don't reoffend? So we're actually trying to get to the community through any facet we can to really improve our community. And that's starting at the top, and it goes all the way down to the bottom. My dad always said, leadership starts at the top and it rolls all the way to the bottom, and that's a true statement. I want to bring leadership back to the Sheriff's Department. I want to make it a place where people want to work. People will give up higher pay in order to work at a place where they're wanted, where they feel appreciated. I want to bring that back, and I want people to enjoy working here, not just a stepping stone in someone's law enforcement career. So I believe I have those traits and quality and leadership to bring that back to the Sheriff's Department and reestablish that community relations. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'll be asking the candidates specific questions. There will be an order as to who gets to answer first. Mr. Pritchard, you get to answer the first question first. I'll read the question. You have 2 minutes to speak. After that, you'll be given cards from the gentleman behind you. How long? You have 2 minutes, and we will move on from there to each candidate with each question. I'll read the question each time for every candidate. First one. There are an increased amount of veterans who have struggled in their transition from their service, most times from combat to civilian life. Sometimes that means they have a run-in with law enforcement. Have you ever experienced this? And if so, how have you dealt with it as sheriff? And what would you do to address the issue? There are an increased amount of veterans who struggle in their transitions from service, most from combat to civilian life. Sometimes that means they have a run-in with law enforcement. Have you ever experienced this? And if so, how did you deal with it? As sheriff, how would you address this issue?
Well, myself personally have not dealt with a situation where I was dealing with a veteran who was suffering from a crisis that I had to deal with in the field. But as sheriff, it's a challenging task because of where we live. There aren't a lot of resources available, and I know we've struggled with that in the past. Previously, it was under the umbrella of the sheriff's office. Unfortunately, that has since shifted to administration, and I think that Mr. Green is doing a fabulous job providing services to our department and not a division of a larger department. I don't know if there's a good answer for that because we don't have the resources here to our veterans to serve them properly. And I can't speak to that because I haven't dealt with that in the field. But as sheriff, I think with our public health partners, our behavioral health partners that maybe recognize someone in crisis, I've had meetings with our public health, our new behavioral health director. This is out in the field, whether they be a veteran or not. So if they're experiencing a crisis, we're working on a collaborative effort to work together with our behavioral health professionals and guide them to the services they need. So that is in the works with my department, and we've had multiple meetings. Actually just had a Zoom meeting yesterday with the new behavioral health director, and I'm hoping it's very promising, the resources that we're going to make available to people in crisis.
Thank you. Ms. Randy, same question. There are an increased amount of veterans who have struggled in their transition from service, most times from combat to civilian life. Sometimes that means they have a run-in with law enforcement. Have you had any experience with this? And if so, how did you deal with it? As sheriff, how would you address the issue?
Yes, thank you. Actually, I have, and it was most recently that we dealt with a situation that was a critical-based incident. And how it was resolved is we worked with the Veterans and Service, the VSO, Gordon Green, to provide services, mental health services to this. So I believe working collaboratively with Health and Human Services to better serve these needs. And like Mr. Pritchard said, we lack a lot of service here locally. So we have to kind of sort out how we're going to handle that and take these people outside of our area and work collaboratively with outside agencies in order to serve these people better. Unfortunately, we do live in a small community, and we don't have the funding, we don't have the personnel, we don't have the staff necessary to serve these people better. It's quite unfortunate, but in the particular situation in which I'm talking about, we were able to get this particular veteran into a mental health, an in-home mental health service. He's recovering, and it's unfortunate to see that. My daughter is in the military, and I've seen some of the things that she has gone through. She was deployed to Kuwait, and so I know it's really, really important, and we need to retrain them and bring them back into society and help them cope with the evils basically in their head, and have them kind of reintegrated back into the community in which we live.
Thank you. Sergeant Reddish, just a question. There's an increased amount of veterans who have struggled in their transition from service, most times from combat to civilian life. Sometimes that means they have a run-in with law enforcement. Have you had experience with this, and if so, how did you deal with it? As sheriff, how would you address the issue?
Yes, I had an incident approximately 4 years ago in Mammoth Lakes where we received a 911 call of a wife that was being held inside of a residence, and she had expressed that her PTSD as well as alcohol, and we were able to de-escalate the situation, which was key. We took him into custody, but after taking him into custody, I took the time. I have veterans in my family dating back to World War I. World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. I've had family members in each of the conflicts. I was able to bridge that gap with him and start talking, shop with him, which put him at ease. And my heart goes out to veterans, because if it wasn't for those veterans and the veterans in this room, we wouldn't be here right now. So I have a big heart for veterans. Whatever we need to do